welcome to Yoga Pilates Fusion. This morning we're going to start laying down now. So just to kind of change it up from Monday, I'm going to use a couple of yoga blocks as sort of a little elevation for my chest. Get a little stretch across the chest muscles. So sometimes I like it with and sometimes without. And if you don't have yoga blocks, you could certainly use a pillow or two. And if you don't have those, you can just lay down. Just lie down on your back and relax your arms, breathe. It's going to be fun. So the way that I'm setting this up is I have one block that's positioned underneath. I'm going to put this right underneath my upper back so that the bottom of the block is just below my shoulder blades. So there's a spot where it's really uncomfortable and then a spot where it's mildly uncomfortable. We're going for the mildly uncomfortable, if that at all. Sometimes it's comfy. And then this block I've positioned a little bit higher, and that's going under my head. So if I were going to use pillows, I might do one pillow and then put another pillow sort of angled up like that, so you have one that's a little higher for your head if you like. Now some people like their head to go down a little, like to go lower, which is fine. Okay, we're still going to get the chest position here. So I'm going to lower down. I've got my back positioned now, so this block is just beneath my shoulder blade, and it feels fine. I would not ever call this particular thing a lazy boy recliner, right? It's not meant to be super duper cozy per se, but what does happen is this really interesting sort of opening up here across the chest. Now you can have your legs out straight. You can leave your feet on the floor, or you could, if you feel like it, put your feet together and drop your knees open like little butterfly wings. Okay, so that is up to you. And then once we're positioned here, whether it's just laying on the floor with your arms outstretched, or you're in this kind of a position, just pause for a moment and let the rest of the world go. So we're just going to disconnect from a little bit from the stuff that normally goes on inside our brain. There's like the to-do lists and whatever else might be going on in there. And then we're going to connect to the breath and making little subtle changes to our pose. And just what's happening here in the present moment. Stay for a little bit, just allowing things to sort of gently change and release. For me, this position is really a nice way to sort of get a little bit more opening across the chest. I like to sleep on my side, kind of curled up in a ball. So something like this in the morning is very helpful and useful to kind of open up. Even just laying on the mat and stretching out the arms is useful in the same way. And then the nice part of this is it sort of automatically gets the breath to go into the ribs, which helps create a little bit of release in these kind of intercostal muscles that live between the ribs. Notice if there's any tension patterns that you're carrying with you, maybe a little tension around the eyebrows or across the forehead or in the muscles that live on the side of our head. yogis. We're going to take 2 more big breaths here. Now, I'm going to take my block that's under my head out first and set that guy off to the side. And then I'm going to roll over to one side and get this other block out from under me. And then I'm going to come back onto my back. And the nice part to me is that when I come off of the blocks, my whole upper back, shoulders, everything just feels a little more relaxed. And it sort of feels like it spreads out like a big puddle. So I like that way that feels. And so I'm just going to spend a little moment here sort of rocking back and forth on that upper back. Kind of releasing with little windshield wipers on the legs. And you could bring your knees into your chest if you like. That's a fun one too. And get a little rounder by drawing the pelvis up. All right, yogis, so we're going to take the arms out. And then we're going to float the knees just above the top rim of the pelvis or right above the belly button, depending on which landmark makes more sense to you. Now you can turn your palms upside down so that, or, palm down, so that you have a little bit, you can kind of grip a little bit on the floor. You can leave your palms up if that's more comfortable. You're going to press your upper arms into the ground, try to hold your shoulders steady while you bring your legs over to one side. Now you could curl the knees in nice and tight, or if you've got the room for it, straighten out one or both legs. Then come back to the center, kind of across the middle. We're going to lift in the center, just give ourselves a little hug, and then over to the side, curl it in or straighten it out. Come to the middle, lift it in, come to the side, curl it in or straighten it out. To the middle, lift it up. To the side, curl it in. To the middle, lift it up. To the side, curl it in. Start to feel those obliques, and deep belly muscles getting warmer. It's nice. So we're going to do 2 more sets. Coming over, to the center, to the side. Press your upper back down as best you can. We got 1 more to go. To the center, lift, and then to the side, lift, and then we're coming back to the center. Now we're going to take the legs all the way over to one side. Now I'm going to go to the right first because that was the pattern I was working with. And then you can just stack your legs up. If you've got a little bit more tension on that line, you can put a block underneath your bottom leg. If you've got a little less tension, you could wrap your legs around each other or do some of each. And then let yourself kind of stretch out through the arm. You can even look the opposite direction of your legs. See what that feels like. Don't be too aggressive here, but it feels nice to stretch it out. I'm going to take 1 more breath. And then we're going to bring the top knee back and then this bottom knee back. And we're going to give ourselves a moment here. Grab hold of your right leg. Take your left leg and just let it stretch out and relax. And then we're going to spin this right foot in circles. And go the other direction with your circles. And then point and flex. Okay, so as you flex your foot back now, we're going to extend the leg. It might go just a tiny bit straighter. It might go all the way to straight. And then bend your knee, hug your leg in. Give that heel and extension out. Maybe the leg goes all the way straight. Maybe not. You and your hamstrings have to get along, so please do this mindfully. And then we're going to stretch it up. All right, so pausing right there, just giving that nice back of the thigh stretch. We're going to hold it for 1 more breath. And then you're going to let go, let your leg float so that it stays nice and tall. reach out through the toes. Now, we're gonna snuggle the shoulder blades underneath, really press the upper arms and upper back into the floor. This leg that's extended out, we're gonna turn that so the toes point up and really press down into that leg. Now we're gonna try to keep the whole body stable here as we bring this leg across and then out in a circle. So the tendency is to let the torso wobble. We're gonna try to hold that torso nice and stable. So circling and holding stable. Good, 2 more. Okay, when we get to the top, we're gonna go the opposite way. So we're gonna go out to the side first, bring it down and come up. Good, 2 more. All right, now bring the leg in. Oh, bring the other leg in. Give yourself a little hug. And then we're gonna take the legs over the other direction. So now we're in the twist on the opposite side. So I'm gonna put a little block under here. I'm gonna wrap my top leg around if I've got room with the furnishings. Oh. Good morning, tiny weasels. And then I'm gonna pause for a moment and just relax into this and let the gravity and a little bit of a reach and maybe even a turning of my head kind of open up. Bring a little awareness, maybe a little extra blood flow to these areas in my hip and my chest. Take 2 more breaths. All right, so we're gonna unwind, bring this top leg back. Oh, bring the bottom leg back. Give yourself a moment to kind of rinse that out. And then we're gonna let that leg, the right leg, straighten out. We're gonna hug onto this left leg, give the left leg a little snuggle, and then spin the left foot in circles. Go in both directions with the circle. All right, yogis, then we're going to point and flex the foot. So now flex the foot and then extend up through the heel. See how straight that leg wants to go. And then bend the knee and give it a hug. And then extend. You might have to even let go of it a little bit. Bend the knee, hug it in. Heel goes out, extend that leg. Just see how straight it wants to get. And bend the knee and hug it in. Last one. Extend it up. Then we're going to let go. Move that leg up so that it's, at a balanced place for you. Turn this leg out. So we're bringing the thigh up so the toes kind of point up. We're going to press down into this leg, press down into the hips, snuggle the shoulder blades under, press down into the upper back a little bit. Now, I'm going to move slightly to my side. Hopefully I won't go too far off the frame for you guys. So I've got a little bit more room. So we're going to go across the body. We're going to sweep a circle out here and try not to destroy any plants while I do this. But you're going to use whatever range of motion you've got. And again, we're trying to hold the torso nice and stable. So really pressing down. We got 1 more of those to go. Okay, and then we're going to pause at the top, go out to the side, come to the bottom, and go up. Using the range of motion that works either for your hip or the spacing that you're in. The most important part is that we're hugging in through the sides of the waist. 2 more. And hold and steady through the legs of the upper back. Okay? Last one. All right, when we get to the center, you're going to bring that knee in, bring the other knee in. Give yourself a little hug. Oh. All right, so we're gonna curl the shoulder blades up off the mat, and then you can, because we're gonna hold the shoulders up. And if it feels like you're straining with your neck to hold your shoulders up, you wanna keep your neck a little bit more neutral and do the work from the abs. So one way that you can help yourself with that is put your hands behind your head, and then press your head lightly into your hands, and that's gonna secure that. So now you have to curl with your abs, okay? So then we're gonna straighten the legs out, and then bring them back in. Trying not to change the torso, just adding a little bit of challenge. Now you can do it also with the arms, okay? And bring it back in, add the arms, bring it back in, keep it curled in, arms, bring it back in, or you maybe just leave your hands. Good, bring it back in. We've got 3 more. Open, back in, open, back in, open, back in. Put your head down, and then you can give yourself some little windshield wipers or just a big stretch. That feels good sometimes. Oh. Ooh. All right, yogis. Now, so we're gonna do some work with the roll up. So the roll up's gonna take us off the floor, theoretically all the way to a seated position, and then folding over the legs, and then rolling all the way back down. So the trouble with this move is that some of us can't get off the floor without a lot of force, right on? So if you're like that, here's what we're gonna do together. We're gonna do it in 2 halves. Everybody else can just roll up, fold over their legs, roll back down. But we're gonna do it in 2 halves. So we're gonna come up as far as we can, and then come back down nice and slow. Up as far as you can go, come on back down. Now here's the thing. We're gonna draw those navels in, and come on back down. Try not to use your head. Navel in, right? So your head's along for the ride. Navel in, good. We're gonna do it one more time on this side. As high as we can go. Come on back down. Now, we're gonna do the other side. So we're gonna bring ourselves up. Okay? And then we're gonna stretch over the legs, however far that goes. And then we're gonna roll down as far as we can go before we lose control. And then roll back up. Stretch over your legs. Inhale, exhale, roll down. Inhale, exhale. Ooh, come up. It's not easy to inhale there. That's why we needed the space in the ribs. All right, roll it down. We got 3 more to go. Okay, coming up. Stretch over your legs. So the reason to do it this way is so that you actually make yourself do the work, hug in, come on back up, as opposed to that kind of forcing yourself up, which doesn't really get to these deeper muscles. So we're gonna do it one more time, coming down. Good, now we're all gonna come up one more time, and when you're seated, we're gonna pause here, stretching out over the toes, over the legs. Good, and we're gonna come back up to a seated position. All right, yogis. I need to put my hair up, and then we're all gonna come up to all 4s. So, when you get to a place where that makes sense, we're gonna come up to all 4s. And we're gonna give ourselves a few moments of some little cat shapes. Now, when I get into this shape, I'm trying to change a little bit in the upper back, okay? Because my lumbar spine wants to do this shape no matter what. But if I can get my shoulders or my upper back a little mobile, that's a nice way to go. And then as I come into this shape, my upper back wants to make this shape no matter what. So if I curl the tailbone in and give my navel a good squeeze, then I'm kind of creating a little change in my lower back. It's not a big change, but it's enough. Oh, it feels really good. Good. So we're going to do 2 more of those. Right, now we're going to take ourselves into a wide knee child's pose. You can stay with more of an all 4s kind of position. Just take your knees a little bit on the wide side. If your hips can come back, come back. We're going to thread one arm underneath the other armpit, right? So we're in kind of a little stretch here. And again, my hips could come further forward. for now, I'm gonna just pause. And then this arm can be kind of a way to sort of create a little bit of structure, or if you'd like, you could wrap it over your back. Oh, you can also reach it up in front, and that's nice too. Just make sure that there's not any kind of pressure on your head or your neck that feels inappropriate. Oh, so we're gonna take one more breath here. And then we're gonna pull this whole thing all the way out. Good. Then we're gonna take this into a bit of a side plank. So we're gonna take that arm that we just had underneath us out. I've rolled up so that my hip is stacked up on top. This leg is here for support down below. And then I've got my arm in a position. So I'm gonna take my arm over my ear, wrap it back up, over the ear, wrap it down, up, over the ear. One more time, wrap it back down, over the ear. Now, I could put this hand on my hip. I could take my hand to the head, or I could extend the arm up. We're gonna try to float this leg up off the floor and hold steady as we do some little circles. Okay. Hug in nice and tight through your waist. Go the other direction with your circles. Sometimes things get a little wobbly. Ooh, come on back. Hello. All right, so we're gonna extend and then come back to that all fours position. Give this wrist a little movement. I've got good news. That one's going underneath us. For some reason, there's a furry convention on my mat this morning. All right, so here we go. We're going under here. Oh. And again, this arm could extend up over the top. You can use it for support or wrap it over your back. And we're going to take one more breath here. Oh, and then we're going to take ourselves out, right? So once again, I'm going to position myself here so that I'm in this little kind of modified side plank. I've got my wrist in a position that doesn't feel like it's too dangerous. I'm going to take this arm over my ear. Oh, okay. Over the ear. Oh, just make a nice big circle. I think we went the other way last time. So hopefully this is the other way. So bringing it up. Oh, one more time. Up. Now we can leave this arm up in the air. You could leave it over by your ear. You can hold it onto your hip here. Lift your leg. And we're going to try to hold steady while we make some circles here. 2 and 1. And then catch the balance and go the other direction. I'm trying not to get too distracted. And hug in tight. Good, one more. Excellent. And then we're gonna put that leg down. Come on, whoops. Come on back to the center, hopefully not crushing anybody. And you can take an all fours position or a child's pose. And then we're gonna do some downward dog eventually. But if you need a moment, take a little moment, give yourself a little wrist release. Oh. Okay. There are days, y'all, there are days. Okay. So hands about shoulder distance apart. You know where that goes if you kind of bring your shoulders over your wrist and kind of see it. Then we're going to tuck the toes and head up into down dog. And then once we're here, because maybe this is your first downward dog today, give yourself a little shake out through your head. Move your shoulders around a little bit, see what feels interesting. I like to kind of let my shoulder blades get as close to the back, middle of my back as I can get. And then you can walk your feet up and down a little bit. Oh, move the hips back and forth. Now, we're going to bring this right leg forward. Okay? So we're going to take the leg up, bring it in, again around it, bring it back, hug it in. And then we're going to step it forward. So you step it forward the best way you can. And then we're going to bring this left knee to the ground. So you might, if you need to, throw some padding under that knee. And then once the knee's on the ground, we're gonna bring ourselves up to this lunge shape. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna back off a little bit, so it's almost a hamstring stretch, okay? We're gonna pulsate like this a few times. So going into the lunge, feeling this stretch on the front of the hip, coming back, feeling this stretch on the back of the thigh. Okay? One more pulsation before we get to the last round and we hold. Okay. So now we're going to come into this lunge. Now, when you get here, you could take your arms out. You can take your arms up. I like to put my hands on my hips. Sometimes I use one hand on my thigh for stability. All right, so just kind of opening that one shoulder back. So you can do it however you like. If you want to reach back and grab that foot, you could do it that way. And so I'm taking 2 more breaths here. Now I'm going to back my hips up until this leg is straight. And folding over that to give myself a little hamstring stretch here. Good. Now I'm going to put both hands on the inside and I'm going to take this leg back so that I'm back to my all fours position. Then I'm going to walk a little bit forward, so I'm in a modified plank. You want to tuck your toes and come into a full plank, that's fine. Draw the navel in, curl the tailbone in, hug and hold steady for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now with control, we're going to lower all the way down to the floor. Okay? And then we're going to come into a cobra, hands a little high, right up under the edge of the shoulder. Okay? Use your back muscles, don't push with your arms. Right on? Okay. Use your leg muscles as well. So then we're going to slide the hands a couple inches back so they're more in line with the chest. And then press down and lift. Beautiful. And then we're going to do it one more time, taking the hands back. This time legs are going to go up, torso is going to come up. So we've got a locust, draw the elbows back. Nice, come on back. We're going to press ourselves back up to that modified plank or a full plank. And then take it back to down dog. All right, so let's just see what happened. So feeling the right side and the left. See if there's any difference between those two. We're gonna take this left leg up. Now this is coming forward, but first curl up around it, stretch back. Stretch back, and then we're gonna step that guy forward, and we're gonna bring this right knee to the ground. So again, if you want some extra padding, put that in. Sometimes it just takes a little extra movement or just a little extra to get yourself kind of settled in. Now, we're going forward until your hip says that's enough. And then we're coming backwards towards this forward bend, not all the way in. Going forward, ooh, coming back. Good. Going forward. Good, coming back. That's my last round of these little pulsations. And now I should have some information that as I come forward for this last one, I know kind of where I want to stop, because I know where that sensation is. All right, so I did this last time. One hand on my knee, one hand on my hip, drawing that elbow back, shoulder open. And you're going to do whatever you did last time, or maybe switch it up. Who knows? Ooh. Okay, we're going to take 2 more breaths. And then we're going to inch this whole situation back until we've got a hamstring stretch. And the toes might come up, the toes might stay low. Just feeling this out. Okay, so we're going to put both hands on the inside. We're going to take that leg back and around. And we're gonna pause here. And again, this is my all fours position. Then I walk my hands forward and I'm in a modified plank, or you can do a full plank. Draw the navel in, curl the tailbone in a little bit. If you've got the full plank, lift through your thighs. Hold and steady here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and with control, lowering down. Okay, and then we're coming into the cobra, hands are a little high. Reach through the legs, press them into the ground, lift. Okay, coming down, pull the hands back an inch or so. Press into the legs, lift. That's your cobra number 2. And then last one, hands back a little bit further. Legs go up, torso comes up. Here's our locust. Ooh, good. Coming on down, we're gonna press ourselves back up to downward dog. So taking ourselves maybe to all fours instead, or into downward facing dog. Okay, and then feel the difference. Oh, good. Take a nice big breath. And now we're gonna either take a little journey to the top of the mat with a walk, or you can hop up there. When you get to the point where your weight's in your legs, take your legs out a little on the wide side, and we're gonna just basically figure 8 the hips here. Oh, and let the upper body move. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna go the other direction. All right, now we're gonna take ourselves up about halfway, just so the back gets a little flatter. Exhale, fold in. Okay, see what that takes you. So bring your feet heel-toed in, 1, and then come up halfway. Ooh, and then fold in. Okay, come in, 1. Take yourself out halfway, and then folding in. Ooh, might get a little bit more interesting. Coming in one more time. So now you're about hips distance apart. Coming up halfway, fold in, and then we're gonna take ourselves all the way to standing. Give that a big stretch when you get there. Oh, I've got a little hole right here that doesn't have any plants in it. So I'm gonna use that as my opportunity to stretch. And then after correcting a few wardrobe malfunctions, come up here to the top of my mat. Whew. All right, yogis, take a moment, give everything a little shake. And then because I have some plants in my way, I'm not gonna sweep my arms up. I'm gonna go kind of up the center. If you've got room, sweep your arms up. All right, so first just pause and find your mountain pose. Spread out your toes. Let your tailbone get a little heavy. Don't be too locked out in your knees. Let your shoulders relax. And then we're gonna come into this mountain pose with an extension, nice big lift. Left arm's gonna come down, we're gonna stretch over to the left. Oh. Coming back to the center, nice big lift. Right arm's coming down, stretching over to the right. Okay, good. Coming to the center, nice big lift, chair pose. Beautiful, coming all the way up, we're gonna take that left arm down, stretch to the left. Good, coming back to the center, stretch, chair pose. Coming all the way up, taking it over to the right. Oh. Good, one more time, chair pose. Now pause here, we're gonna shift the weight into the right leg. We're gonna take the left leg and bring it up. You wanna put your hands at your heart for better balance? You can do that. See if you can get your ankle or your shin up on top of your thigh. Maybe you can cross your shin instead. All right, so we're gonna hold steady. There might be some balance challenges this morning. Good, so we're holding as best we can. One more breath. Nice, now pick this knee up and step it back into warrior 2. Now if that didn't land just right, just fix it. And then we're gonna take the arms out, come back to reverse warrior and over to the side angle shape. So this is the mermaid. So we're lengthening out through the side, lengthening out through the side, and using the torso muscles to power this move, right? Working with the hip and the side waist and everything else. Oh, that's attached. So 2 more if we can do it. Oh, good. And then 1 more time. Oh, now we're gonna pause with this side angle and kind of allow it to adjust as needed. So you can have your hand on your thigh, you can put your hand on the floor or on a block. You just wanna make sure that this part of you makes one long angle. And then, oh, press into the floor with your feet. Give yourself some good stretchy love. Oh, little rotation if that seems right. Now we're gonna straighten out the leg and let it morph into a triangle, and you might change the parameters a little bit. It might get wobbly. It's coming on back. Oh. Okay, we're gonna do 2 more breaths. Now we're gonna release this pose and turn this into a balance. One more time. So we're gonna take everything up onto this leg and come into a balancing shape. Now it could be a half moon balance, or it could be a standing splits balance, like whatever you can pull off here. Good. Can you lift really firmly through the side waist? And then we're gonna turn this back into a chair pose. Good, nice big stretch over to the left. Coming back to chair pose. Nice big stretch over to the right. Whew. Coming back to chair pose. One more time, little stretch to the left. Whew. Coming back, chair pose. Nice stretch to the right. Oh. Coming back, chair pose. All right, maybe hands to your heart. So we're gonna take all the weight into that left side, maybe cross at the shin, maybe that leg will come up onto your thigh, sinking ourselves down in here. Praying for balance, or just holding steady as best we can. We're gonna try to take one more breath here. Or one more sip. And then we're gonna step this thing back into warrior 2. And again, just kind of feel this out, because there might be a shape to the warrior 2 that feels better. And then we'll come through these little mermaid action moves, coming back and over lightly here. So we're not getting too far in, really letting the obliques be the stars. Stretching out. Good, 2 more. And then last one, and we're gonna come over into that side angle pose, and then we'll snuggle in, right? So then you can adjust the legs so that you've got a little bit more structure here. Press your feet in, lift a little bit through your inner thigh. Nice big stretch. And then we're gonna morph this into a triangle. And again, you might change things up a bit, change the parameters. So doing a triangle that's interesting for you today. Ooh. Whether it's wobbly or not. 2 more breaths. Okay, so this is going to turn into my balancing pose, right? So I'm going to get myself up onto the balance. Oh, this leg might be getting tired, so maybe I use my hands on the floor. Or maybe I can extend that top arm up. It might get wobbly, be prepared. Lift. Good, so then we're gonna bring this leg right back, and we're into a forward bend here. Come up halfway, exhale, fold, and then we're gonna come all the way up to standing. Oh, nice big stretch. Oh, and then we'll come back to mountain pose. Maybe with your eyes open. Finding your balance and your place. It doesn't feel any different than it did a little while ago. It's kind of cool. So we're gonna pause for a moment. Now we're gonna come into a squat, y'all. So some of us are gonna squat like the chair pose, where the hips stay pretty high. And then some of us might be able to get the hips really low. And then there's a bunch of us that are gonna be in between. For me, it helps to have the feet out wide and also to turn the toes out, okay? So we're gonna squat in here, just see how low is my pelvis willing to go into a squat. Mostly keeping the back relatively neutral comparatively, you know, like it's just gonna adjust to whatever the squatting shape is. Okay. We'll see if we can hold this for a few moments. Not a few minutes, just a few moments. Oh. So 2 more breaths. And then we're gonna let ourselves turn this into a forward bend. Oh. Give yourself a little rinse out. And we're gonna try it one more time, y'all. So we're gonna come back to our friend, the squat. One more time, if we can. If it looks more like chair, it looks more like chair. Sometimes the fun of this pose is that time seems to slow down while we're hanging out with it. We got 2 more breaths. And then we're going to turn it into a forward bend one more time. Oh, just dangle over. Shake things out, give it a little rinse. Oh. All right, so this is going to turn into downward dog, or if downward dog is not your jam, you can take it to an all fours position, okay? So we're just going to walk this thing back. So it turns into downward dog. We're going to come forward into a plank, and that can be your modified plank. Good. And then we're going to lower down. Now, once we get down here, we're going to stay. So we're going to lower down nice and steady. All right. And then we're going to come into our cobra, hands high, lift. And again, so what I want to do is I want to do the cobra with my back muscles and my legs, and my arms are just here for help and also to open up the shoulder area. Okay, and then I'm going to come down, take the hands out nice and wide so that I've got my arms about shoulder height, maybe a little less, fingers out like little spiders, and then lift into that cobra, and we're going to draw the right shoulder forward and then the left shoulder forward. Right shoulder forward, look over your left. Left shoulder forward, look over the right. And one more time, right shoulder forward, left shoulder forward. Good. So now we're going to come to a little sphinx shape. So we're going to put the elbows under us, reach back through the legs, press the tops of the thighs and the front of the hip into the floor. Ooh, good. All right, so we're going to do 2 more breaths here. And then we're going to come around onto our side, okay? So I've got my hips stacked on top, my shoulders stacked on top. I'm going to take this top leg through a series of movement. I'm going to go up, and that's going to be the in-between shape. Then I'm going to go forward, up, and backward, okay? So the tendency is to let the torso rock. So we're going to try to hold in. So we're going to hug in the sides of the waist, draw the rib cage into the body, draw the upper back towards the rib cage. We're going to try to hold steady as the leg does all this work. So we're holding all this core stabilization, okay? So here we go. So we'll do 5 more sets of this, going forward, going up, going backward, going up. Okay, so trying to hold nice and steady, going up, going backward. I like to keep my hand kind of near my hip or my stomach, so it just reminds me, hug that in, girl. You can put it up here too, it's a little more stable. Up, backward. That for me is the most challenging version. Like my torso definitely wants to change shapes as I go behind myself here, right? Ooh, so you're just going back as far as your hip flexors let you go. I may have lost count, but we're gonna do it one more time. I think we've got one more. All right. Up, and then behind, and then we're gonna go up, One more time. Okay. So we're going to bring the feet together. We're going to bring the feet behind us. So now the knees are laying on the ground. The feet are laying on the ground. My hips are stacked. All I'm going to do is try to hold everything except pick my feet up. Okay. And so this motion of just opening the top leg and bringing it down might be all that happens. You open, hold it, and then bring it down. Okay. Or you can add onto it. Open it, extend that leg out, which makes this whole thing work a little harder. Bring the foot together and close it up. Open it, extend, bring it back, close it up. We're just working with what we got. If these muscles are not strong yet, then they may not want to do this extended leg, and the leg may drop. Okay, holding it steady. Good. We're working those adductors, baby. Oh, abductors. Both sets. Oh, there's the adductors. There's the abductors. Oh, it's so nice. Can you feel this glute right here firing up a little bit? This is my favorite. We're going to do 2 more. Good. This also is what helps stabilize us in some of those standing balance poses, is this outer hip. Now, we're going to take the legs out straight, right on, but we're going to stretch this area that we were just working with. So we're going to take that leg across. It might be all that happens is you just let it rest out in front. You can put your knee on the ground, or you can put your foot on the ground, which is usually my preference. Okay. So just kind of give yourself a little bit of length there. And then we're going to pop this bottom leg up and we'll work this inner thigh line. So we're going to really work these adductors on the inside edge of the thigh now. So lifting it up, we're going to go up for 10, 9, 8, 7. Can you feel the connection also to your hip flexor? Because those are helping us out a little bit here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now hold that leg up and see if you can lift just a little bit more from this deep inner belly. Good. Hold it steady. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Don't let it go yet. 3, 2, 1. Bring that baby down. Now we're going to take this whole thing onto our back. I've got to scooch a little bit this way first, but you may not have to. And then once you're on your back, we're going to take that same leg here and just bring it up and over the top, okay? So that left leg was what was doing all the work. I'm going to continue with that left leg up over the top. And then we can just pause right here, or you can bring the leg in toward you. Oh. And if you're up for it, you could turn this into a pigeon pose with the left leg up front. You're fine with that as well. And we'll all wind up together here. So giving this hip a little love. Oh. Because it feels good. And sometimes I like to hang on to this leg and let the bottom leg stretch out so I get a little more of a release through the hip flexor here. Be careful with this though. It's easy to torque the bottom leg bones in relationship to the thigh. So you really want to keep the knee nice and stable if you hold on like this. And flexing the foot is very helpful in that way. So we're going to do 3 more breaths. Okay, so we're going to release this leg. Now if you're in the regular pigeon for some reason, you flipped yourself over, bring yourself back to this point. And then here we all are, and just notice, like, is one leg different than the other? Is one side of your body different than the other? Oh. So we're going to do a kind of a low boat shape, right on? So this is similar to some other shapes that we've done, but we're going to add in just a little bit of a paddle. So we're going to curl the torso up, and that may be all that happens, and we leave the legs kind of resting on the floor. Or if you can do it, you're going to lift your legs some amount. They can be lower. Go for where your low back feels like it's neutral, and then we're just going to add a little paddling. Paddling, paddling, paddling. Curl that navel in, y'all. Good. We're almost there. We only got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 left. Bring your knees in. Now, you could just roll over onto your other side. Or if you want to see the screen and you can't bring it with you, you can do what I'm going to do and spin this whole thing 180 degrees around so that we're on the other side. Okay. So, resting your head. Again, I like my head on my arm. Some people like to prop the head up, and I understand that. You can prop up on your elbow if you like. Just be mindful of your neck. That's the main thing. So we're going to get the torso nice and connected, hug in through the sides of the waist, draw in through the ribs, pull the upper back in towards the rib cage. So everything's nice and secure. We're going to take that top leg up and bring it back. We're going forward. Good, going up. And then take it backward. And again, trying to hold as steady as you can with each of these movements. Just drawing in, especially on those ones that are a little more challenging, that want to really make you jut your ribs forward, right? Okay. Right here for me, just is the hardest one. Good. Hug it in, yogis. Now we may not be exactly lined up with each other. That's okay. We're going to do it one more time and we'll all arrive in the same place. Good. So as we go behind here, hug in nice and tight. Bring it back, go up one more time. And then we're going to bring the feet together. Bring them around behind. Okay, feel how that impacts your hip, your knee. One side might be slightly different than the other. You might have the legs up a little higher or a little lower on a given side. Okay, now hold and steady through the torso. Leg opens, it might hold there, and then it might close down. Or leg opens, you might extend that out, bring it back, and close it up. Focusing on these muscles when we're open and extending, and then focus on bringing that thigh back together with the inner thigh muscles, okay? So giving ourselves these little clam or butterfly movements with the leg. Making sure your knee's okay. Sometimes working against gravity is the harder part. Good. We got 3 more, yogis. Good. I think that's the last one. Bring it back together. We're going to take that leg over the top. And again, yours can be just resting the leg or resting the knee or putting the foot on the ground. And again, it's just up to you. Just pause for a second. Make sure your knee's not in any kind of trouble, whichever version you're doing. There's a sense of length here. Okay. So we're going to lengthen out, lift that bottom leg. And we're going to try to work this kind of deep belly and inner thigh for a pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now really, dig in and lift. Holding it steady. 10, 9, 8. Don't let go yet. Double down a little bit. 5, 4, 3, a little bit higher. 2, 1, and then bring it down. We're going to let this leg stay across if you like, or you can just roll onto your back. Pop this guy up on top of your thigh. And then pause right there. Or bring the legs in a little bit, whichever is your jam. Or you can, roll over and do a pigeon if you did that last time. So, and again, you can hold on to this part and let that part go if you like. Just be mindful of your knee joint, because the angle may not be exactly parallel to your chest. The angle might be more in that line of movement. So just being careful as you use your hands and arms here as potential torquing devices for your knee. Nobody wants you to torque your knee. And for me, there's a definitive difference between the amount of external rotation I can get with my right hip versus my left. And so it's a different shape. kind of feeling things out, yogis. We're going to stay for about 30 more seconds. Sun's starting to come in my window. I don't know where your sun is in relationship to your window, but it's very pretty. In a second, though, it'll be beaming me right in the eyeball. So we're going to take a big breath, and we're going to let go of this leg. Now, give yourself a little bit of windshield wipery movement and a nice big stretch. And you know this Shavasana is coming up, but we're not ready for Shavasana just yet, y'all. We're going to do one more boat pose. This one is going to be the different boat pose, right? So those of you that were doing that pigeon, you're going to join us here. So we're going to come into the seated higher boat. So we're going to bring it all in. We're going to dial in that strength, and then we're going to add those little pulsations here. Little paddle. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't forget to breathe. And we just got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 left. That wasn't so bad. So you're going to let yourself stretch out on your back. Now, I'm going to put a little blanket underneath my legs because it feels nice. And I'm going to start with this blanket as soon as I get it out from underneath all the bits of fabric. I'm going to start with it really high up, okay? So that I get it kind of up in the, just right up under the little ridge of my butt cheek. And then I start there and stretch out the legs and see how it feels. If it feels good, then I leave it there. If I need to lower it a little bit, I can cheat it down a notch, okay? So that what is happening is it feels like my back and my pelvis in this area are all level and in their neutral curve. Sometimes my back has a tendency to arch a little bit here. So creating that little lift with the thigh bone helps release and lets my spine get neutral. And then I'm doing the same thing with my neck. Snuggling the shoulder blades under and giving my neck a neutral position to rest in, right? So my chin is level. It doesn't feel like it's lifted or down. So this is where you could put a blanket or a towel also underneath. And then with that supported and relaxed, you can let your arms decide how far out they should go. Like some people keep their arms really tight, but it's sort of, mostly you're just trying to stay on your mat. But you're at your house now, so you can let your arms go as wide as you want. And see if taking the arms a little wider doesn't cause a little better sense of the shoulder joint relaxing completely. And just let your body relax here. And you can give yourself a moment to just notice. I usually start either at the top of my head or down at my tiptoes. And just feel, I might stretch out my toes, give them a little wiggle, relax them. And then notice if you're carrying any tension in the legs or the lower back or the hips. And again, adjust the props just right so that everything lets go. Relax the muscles around the abdomen. And let your chest muscles completely relax. And then that'll travel down the arms, and you can experiment with a couple of little stretches through the fingers. And then just let the palms and the arms relax. And then all the really important things happen now at the throat and the face. So let yourself adjust the head again so the throat relaxes back. Relax the jaw and the mouth. Relax those muscles across your forehead, around the temples and over the ears. Let your whole body relax. yogis. Just come back to an awareness of your breath. You're going to stretch out your fingers and your toes. And wriggle them. And then move your wrists and ankles. Stretch out through your arms and legs. And then you're going to curl up in a ball. Give your favorite yogi a hug and a back massage for the road. And you could rock yourself up or roll over to one side. And then we'll prop ourselves up here into a seated position. Just say goodbye to each other. So let's do a big breath together. Nice big inhale. Big deep sigh. Namaste, yogis. Thanks for joining me today.